first of all, I love the movie.
That's great. Awesome.
And I think it's been a while since I'd seen the last trilogy.
Sure.
And
Have you seen it recently?
No.
Okay, it's just a memory of it. Okay.
Yeah, so I went into that purposely because I wanted to have kind of the distance. And I think what you did was you did a really good job making it as a vehicle for people who've never seen an Apes movie.
Yeah, we tried that. Yeah, sure.
But you still serviced people who are fans of the series.
Yeah, right.
So can you talk a little bit about balancing that coin?
That's the trick, honestly. And it was the thing that gave me hesitation in the beginning about doing this one. When we had to find how we were going to follow up those previous three, because I love those movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're fantastic movies. They're really well done, and I love the '68 original.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and suddenly we found ourselves in a place where, if we just fast forward quite a bit,
mm-hmm.
we get to kind of create some distance from those movies, so we're not just endlessly compared to them, but we also get to take with us all the good baggage from that movie into our movie. You know what I mean? But we also have on the horizon is the '68 movie, and all the ideas that we know we have to eventually arrive at, right? And so it just opened up this whole world of opportunities of new characters, and a new story, a kind of new tone. It's kind of a bit of an adventure this time. It's a younger spirit to it, right? It's a young character setting out, and discovering the world for the first time, you know? And then we got to really play around with this idea of, you know, what has been lost in that time, right? What has been changed in that time? Not just the world, but the idea of Ceasar himself. You know, how does his legacy and the myth and legend of him hang over the story? I think it's in a pretty big way, and it really shapes the character of Noah, I think. You know,
it's an interesting idea because the idea of a character kind of being deified in a way, but then obviously manipulated. To suit specific people's ends, right? Is very timely.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Was that intentional, or is that just kind of how the story worked for you?
No, I will say this though: that has been a thing of the human history, right? Not just today, and we're of course dealing with it today too. But these movies always kind of resonate with. They reflect kind of the times that we're in, right? We're not trying to shove it down anyone's throat. You know, hopefully everyone can enjoy this movie. But truth is a fragile thing in the world we live in today, and how easily it can be twisted and turned and corrupted and abused and used, you know. We wanted to explore that. We thought it was a cool idea, you know.
I actually have a history in archaeology and anthropology.
Cool. This has that feeling, doesn't it, right?
Yes, definitely. Right. That's why I saw a lot of that. But I
wanted to be an archeologist when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Totally wanted to.
It can be fun, but it's
probably
not
because
Indiana
of Indiana Jones. But
it's not Indiana Jones. That's the important thing to know, right?
You don't get a whip. You don't get a whip and a cool hat.
I wish. I mean, I could probably buy one,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be very useful. Anyway, so because of that, I kind of saw, I recognized some of the societal structures that developed.
Yeah.
And also found it interesting the way that you incorporated the existing human artifacts and knowledge even, and into helping that evolve.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about that process and how you chose what to include?
Yeah, I mean, my initial pitch was this: if the last three movies were apes in their Stone Age, we're gonna see them entering into their Bronze Age, right? Where in our own history, you know, you can study these kind of these leaps that we make, right? Where we start to develop cultures and rituals, and we start to, you know, build things and domesticate animals and that kind of stuff for our own use. But the fortunate thing with these apes, not only are they super intelligent, they have our stuff in the background to build from.
Yep.
You know, they don't have to figure out how to make metal. You know, it's all, there's a wealth of treasures around them that they can reuse and refigure out, and that was kind of the fun of it. They could rediscover things like Proxima Caesar, who rediscovers electricity and wields it like a weapon. You know what I mean? I thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah.
Of course, we find out later that he might not have come up with the idea himself, but that's part of the cool fun of, again, that time jump thing. We get to see, we get to fast forward and get into a bit more of a, you know, historical epic, you know, in this movie. You know, that was kind of fun.
We also, because with the previous trilogy, you still had a lot of humanity there. And so humans, we kind of would have a knee-jerk reaction to connect with the humans. But for this story, you're coming from the point of view,
Different point of view,
of the ape, and the humans are kind of the
the enigma that we have to kind of figure out.
So it's interesting because it's like society's the way we switch that way. And so how did you approach that when you were writing that story? And was that part of the reason you went so specifically from the point of view of an ape?
Yeah, we thought it was a cool idea, a cool flip to how the last trilogy started. It started in a human world, you know, and then you see, you know, this the ape story come into it and take over, right? And we thought that would be cool here, to start with the ape world and see how a human comes into it with all the ideas, the prejudices of what we think with the franchise, you know, what we think she is, and watch this kind of little puzzle, this little mystery kind of unravel. And what begins as kind of an ape story, you realize by the end of it, is actually an ape and a human story, right? And you know, I always say there's literally a door that opens at the end that reveals that there's much more human story to be told, because that is at the root of these movies: is can ape and human live together, right? And we think there's a lot more story to tell on that regard, you know.
What do you think is your answer? Do you think they can?
Good question. In the '68 version, no, because we see that it doesn't actually work out. But we think there's a lot of time to explore there, and I think there are some humans that do want it to work out. I think that the journey that May and Noah go on together, while complicated and full of conflict and drama, it will be very important moving forward. If there's ever to be peace between these species, it might begin with these two, right? And it's very much a scene that happens at the end there, where, you know, you kind of see something like that play out, where I think the lessons they learn from each other shapes them, you know, and changes them forever, you know.
I thought it was kind of interesting because you've got, between the characters of Rocca, Proximus, and Noah, kind of three different approaches to ape society and the way it's developed, because Rocca's really the idealist, and he wants that world that he thinks Caesar wanted.
And he's kind of wrong.
And
in a way, right? He gets some things wrong.
Yeah, and Proximus has our knowledge and has gone
And he's very right. Everything he says, there's nothing untrue about what he says.
That is true.
Except for how he uses, I guess, the Caesar thing. But what he says actually is correct, which is so kind of fascinating to think about.
It is. That is very true. It's also very scary.
But he goes about it in a, you know, an iron fist way, right? In the wrong ways, perhaps. And I think that's the cool idea, is that Noah has several father figures in the movie, right? And they all, in some way, find their end, right? And so all these, you know, characters on his shoulder whispering to him, you know, he is this, you know, blank page that is being formed on screen. By the end of the movie, he is going to have to take all these ideas and figure out how to step and go forward into the future, right? And that's, I assure you, is going to be complicated and messy, you know, as he kind of navigates all that. But hopefully we'll be able to tell more of those stories. We'll see.
Are you interested in being involved? Because I know obviously you have Legend of Zelda as your next project.
It's a good problem to have. Let's say that. You know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, we would like to continue on. And I had a thrill making this. It was so fun making this movie, and the cast is fantastic. And, you know, all around, it was a great process, as difficult as it was. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, let's start with a good script and then go from there. You know.
Well, it sounds like you have interesting ideas, so I hope you do, because I'd like to see them. So,
Let's see.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Great questions. Thank you very much.